Fear is a weapon. Not the kind you load, not the kind you aim, the kind you plant in someone's mind and let grow until it paralyzes them, until entire enemy units refuse to patrol certain areas, until the darkness itself becomes the threat. The Navy SEALs in Vietnam didn't just fight battles, they fought psychology. July 1968, Mekong Delta. The briefing room at Na Bay Base feels like standing inside someone's mouth, humid, hot, suffocating. Petty Officer First Class Alex Trudeau sits in the back row, arms crossed, jaw tight. 27 years old. SEAL Team 1, 6 weeks in country. He's good at the physical part, exceptional even. His instructors at Buds said he had some of the best scores they'd seen. Fast swimmer, crack shot, could carry a wounded teammate for miles without stopping. But tonight's briefing isn't about swimming or shooting. It's about something else. Lieutenant Commander Rick Holloway stands at the front, a map of the Rung Sat Special Zone spread behind him. Holloway is 39, a veteran of early SEAL operations going back to '66. His face has the weathered look of driftwood, hardened by sun and salt and things he doesn't talk about. "Gentlemen," Holloway begins, his voice carrying the gravel of too many cigarettes. "Tonight, we're going to make the enemy afraid to sleep." He pins photographs to the map, dead Viet Cong fighters, arranged in specific positions, playing cards left on bodies, strange markings painted on walls. Trudeau feels his stomach tighten. "These are our calling cards," Holloway continues. "Each one sends a message. The Ace of Spades means we were here. The body positioning means we can kill you in your sleep. The markings mean nowhere is safe." A hand goes up. Petty Officer Martinez, one of the veterans. "What's the tactical objective, sir?" "The tactical objective is to create no-go zones, areas where the VC are so terrified of us that they refuse to operate. We don't need to kill every enemy fighter. We need to make them too afraid to fight." Holloway's eyes scan the room. Psychological warfare isn't pretty, but it saves American lives by making the enemy defeat themselves. Trudeau shifts in his seat. Something about this sits wrong with him. He joined the SEALs to be a warrior, to face the enemy directly. This feels like something else, something darker. After the briefing, he lingers while others file out. "You have a problem with the mission, Trudeau?" asks Holloway without looking up from his papers. "Sir, this isn't what I expected." "What did you expect? Fair fights? Gentlemen's rules?" Holloway finally looks at him. "This is Vietnam. The enemy booby traps children. They hide among civilians. They use terror as their primary weapon. We're fighting fire with fire. It feels like we're becoming what we're fighting against." The words hang in the humid air. Holloway's expression hardens. "You think the VC we're hunting lose sleep over morality? They torture village chiefs in front of their families. They execute people for helping us. What we're doing is creating a tactical advantage through reputation. That's not terrorism, that's warfare." "Is there a difference, sir?" "Yeah, there is. We target combatants. We follow rules of engagement. But we also make sure those combatants know that if they operate in our area, they won't just die, they'll die afraid." Holloway closes his folder. "You're on the op tonight. You'll see how it works." After that, if you still have a problem, we'll talk. 2,300 hours. 6 seals slip into the black water of a canal, moving toward a known VC staging area. Trudeau is third in the patrol order, his car 15 held above the waterline, his mind racing. The target is a VC squad that's been running taxation operations, extorting food and money from villages, funneling resources to North Vietnamese regulars. Intelligence has their location, a hooch complex 3 clicks into the Rung Sat. The team moves with the silence of predators. Holloway leads, his movements economical and precise. Behind Trudeau are Martinez, Doc Chen the corpsman, and 2 operators called Gator and Prophet, nicknames earned through deeds Trudeau doesn't fully know. The jungle at night is a living thing. Sounds everywhere. Insects, birds, things moving through water. The temperature hasn't dropped with the sun. Trudeau's fatigues cling to him like a second skin, soaked with equal parts water and sweat. They reach the target hooch. Holloway signals the assault plan with hand gestures. Standard raid. Secure perimeter, neutralize targets, gather intelligence. But then he adds something else. A signal Trudeau doesn't recognize. The assault is swift and silent. The VC never hear them coming. Suppressed weapons cough in the darkness. It's over in seconds. Then comes the part that makes Trudeau's skin crawl. Holloway pulls out playing cards, aces of spades, and places them on the bodies. Then he arranges the dead VC in specific positions, sitting up, eyes open, facing the entrance. "What are you doing?" Trudeau whispers. Making a statement. Holloway works methodically, no emotion on his face. When their comrades find this tomorrow, they'll see that we were here, that we killed without sound, that we had time to stage this scene, which means we owned this position completely. It'll get inside their heads. Martinez is painting symbols on the wall, strange markings that look occult. "Those aren't real," Martinez says, catching Trudeau's stare. "Just random symbols. But the VC are superstitious. They'll think we're using black magic or that the area is cursed." Doc Chen is collecting documents from the hooch, real intelligence work happening alongside the psychological theater. They exfiltrate quickly, leaving behind a scene designed to haunt. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where in the world you're watching from. We love connecting with our community across the globe. Now, back to the Delta. Back at base, as they clean weapons and debrief, Trudeau can't shake the images. The staged bodies, the playing cards, the fake symbols. Holloway notices. "Talk to me." It feels wrong, sir. Desecrating the dead." "We didn't desecrate them. We sent a message. You know what happens when word spreads about what we did tonight. VC units start refusing to operate in that area. They get spooked, superstitious. They start seeing threats in every shadow. Their effectiveness drops by half without us firing another shot. Or it makes them angrier, more motivated." "It doesn't. I've been doing this for 2 years. I've seen the intelligence reports. Areas we've psychologically dominated see reduced enemy activity by 60 to 70%. You know why? Because the VC are human. They feel fear just like anyone else, and we're making them more afraid of us than they are motivated by ideology." Martinez joins the conversation. "I was like you when I started. Thought this was over the line, but then I saw the results. We ran an op in a village the VC had been terrorizing, left our calling cards. 2 weeks later, that village reported VC activity had stopped completely. The enemy was too afraid to operate there. That village is safe now because of what we did. Trudeau wants to argue, but he's not sure what his argument is. That warfare should be clean. It never is. That there should be limits. The VC don't observe limits. Get some sleep, Holloway orders. We've got another op tomorrow night. Over the next 3 weeks, the pattern continues. Raids, followed by psychological staging. And the results are undeniable. Intelligence reports show VC units abandoning positions. Informants report that fighters are refusing to patrol certain areas, claiming they're haunted or cursed. One captured VC fighter, during interrogation, describes the SEALs as mokwi, demons that appear from nowhere and vanish like smoke.
The psychological campaign is working. Trudeau watches it unfold with mixed feelings. On one hand, American casualties are down in their operational area. Villages are safer. The VC infrastructure is disrupted. On the other hand, he's become part of something that feels increasingly dark. One night, during a mission, they capture a VC fighter alive. Young kid, maybe 19, terrified. He surrenders immediately when he sees the SEALs, dropping his weapon and babbling in Vietnamese. Doc Chen, who speaks in Vietnamese, translates. He says we're ghosts, that we can't be killed, that his commander told him if he encounters us, he should surrender, because fighting us is suicide. Holloway zip-ties the prisoner. See? This kid is out of the war. Didn't have to shoot him. Our reputation did the work. But Trudeau sees something else in the kid's eyes. Not just fear, terror. The kind that breaks people. They hand the prisoner over to South Vietnamese forces for processing. As they're leaving, Trudeau hears the kid still babbling, describing the SEALs as supernatural beings. We've broken his mind, Trudeau says to Martinez. Yeah, which means he won't pick up a rifle again. Mission accomplished. Is it? We've turned a scared kid into a psychological wreck. Martinez stops walking. You know what that kid would have done if we hadn't captured him? Maybe planted a mine that kills a Marine. Maybe mortared a base. Maybe executed a village chief. I've got no sympathy for enemy combatants, Trudeau, and neither should you. The mission comes down from MACV SOG. High-value target, a VC political officer who's been coordinating attacks across 3 provinces. Intelligence has him at a specific location for 1 night only. The brief is standard until Holloway adds the kicker. After we eliminate the target, we're going to stage the scene in a way that sends a message to the entire VC command structure. We're going to make this look like something out of their worst nightmares. He lays out the plan. It involves not just killing the target, but creating an elaborate scene that will be photographed and spread through the enemy intelligence network. Something so disturbing that it'll demoralize VC leadership. Trudeau feels sick. Sir, this is crossing a line. What line? We're killing an enemy combatant who's responsible for American deaths. The staging is just psychological warfare. It's desecration. It's treating a human being like a prop in a horror show. Holloway's face hardens. You think that political officer sees the Marines he kills as human? He's a tactician who calculates American deaths. I'm using the same calculus. I'm calculating how many VC fighters we can demoralize with one operation. This isn't what I signed up for. And maybe you signed up for the wrong team. Holloway's voice is ice. SEALs don't get the luxury of clean conscience. We do the dark work so other units don't have to. If you can't handle that, request a transfer. The team is watching, waiting to see if Trudeau will back down or stand his ground. I'll do the mission, Trudeau says quietly, but I'm not participating in the staging. Fine. You pull security while we handle it. The operation goes flawlessly from a tactical standpoint. They infiltrate the target location, eliminate the political officer and a security detail, and secure the site. Then, Holloway and the others begin the staging. Trudeau stands perimeter security, but he can hear them working, can hear the discussion of positioning and symbolism, can hear them transforming death into theater. When it's done, Holloway calls him over. You should see this. You're part of it whether you participated or not. Trudeau looks. The scene is disturbing in ways he can't fully articulate, designed to evoke fear, supernatural dread, the sense that an unstoppable force had been here. This will be in VC intelligence reports within 48 hours, and every VC officer in the Delta will be looking over their shoulder, wondering if they're next. They extract cleanly. The mission is a tactical success. But something in Trudeau has changed. He's crossed a line he didn't know existed, not by participating, but by enabling, by being there, by not stopping it. Back at base, he seeks out Doc Chen, the team member he trusts most. "How do you live with this?" Trudeau asks. Chen is cleaning his medical supplies, his movements methodical. "By remembering why we're here. Every VC fighter we demoralize is one who isn't killing Americans. Every area we psychologically control is one where our guys can operate safer. But at what cost? We're becoming monsters to fight monsters." "Are we?" "We kill combatants following rules of engagement. We don't torture. We don't target civilians. We stage psychological operations that make the enemy afraid. That's not monstrous. That's smart asymmetric warfare." "It feels wrong." "Good. The day it stops feeling wrong is the day you've lost your humanity. But feeling wrong and being wrong aren't the same thing. We're operating in a moral gray zone, but the alternative, fighting a conventional war in an unconventional environment, costs more American lives. I've seen the casualty reports from areas we control versus areas we don't. There's a difference. Our methods work. Do the ends justify the means? In war, sometimes they have to." Chen's voice softens. "Look, I get it. You're struggling with the psychological component. But think about it from a different angle. We're fighting an enemy that uses terror as a primary weapon. They terrorize civilians to control them. We're using fear, but we're directing it at combatants. We're turning their own tactics against them. That's not evil. That's smart." 2 days later, intelligence delivers the results of the political officer operation. VC communications, intercepted and translated, show widespread panic among enemy leadership. Units are requesting transfers out of the wrong set. Fighters are deserting. One intercepted message reads, "The area is controlled by demons. We cannot fight them. We request reassignment." Holloway gathers the team. "Higher command is calling this the most successful psychological operation of the war. The VC 409th Battalion has effectively ceased operations in our sector. That's over 300 enemy fighters neutralized without additional combat." The team celebrates, but Trudeau feels empty. That night, a young Marine Corps lieutenant visits the SEAL compound. He's looking for Holloway, wants to shake his hand. "Sir, I command a rifle platoon operating in the wrong set. 3 months ago, we were getting hit weekly. Ambushes, mines, sniper fire. We were taking casualties every patrol. Then you guys started your operations in our area. The enemy activity dropped to almost nothing. I've got Marines who are alive today because of what you did. I just wanted to say thank you." Holloway shakes his hand. After the Marine leaves, he turns to Trudeau. "You hear that? Real lives saved. Not theoretical, not abstract. Marines who get to go home because the VC are too afraid to operate in that area." "I still don't like it." Trudeau feels something shift in his chest. The moral weight doesn't disappear, but it's joined by something else. Understanding, maybe. Or acceptance. "I still don't like it," he admits. "Good. You shouldn't. But you should understand it." The mission brief is urgent. A VC battalion is massing for an attack on a South Vietnamese outpost. If it's successful, it'll be a major propaganda victory and will result in significant ARVN casualties. The SEAL team's mission? Insert behind enemy lines, hit the VC command element, and create enough psychological chaos to disrupt the attack.
It's a 6-man team against a battalion. The only way it works is if the SEALs can create confusion and fear disproportionate to their actual numbers. Holloway looks directly at Trudeau. "This one's going to require full commitment to the psychological component. We need to make them think they're facing a much larger force. Make them think we're everywhere. Make them panic. Can you do that?" It's a direct challenge, a test of whether Trudeau has truly accepted the mission or is still holding back. "Yes, sir." The insertion is deep and dangerous. They move through VC-controlled territory, every meter contested ground. The battalion they're hunting is professional, well-armed, and expecting trouble. They hit the command hooch at 0200 hours. The assault is textbook. Fast, violent, overwhelming. The VC commanders are neutralized before they can react. But then comes the psychological phase. Trudeau, for the first time, actively participates. He helps stage the scene, places the calling cards, creates the symbols. They make it look like the work of dozens of men, not 6. They set delayed charges that will explode hours later, creating the impression of ongoing attacks. They leave radio equipment broadcasting eerie sounds on VC frequencies. It's theater. It's manipulation. It's psychological warfare in its purest form. And Trudeau does it because he understands now. This isn't about satisfying his moral comfort. It's about saving lives through disruption. They extract before dawn. Behind them, the VC battalion is discovering the scene. Within hours, intercepted communications show the results. The battalion commander is dead, and his replacement is panicking. Reports of ghost attackers, of supernatural forces, of a massive enemy presence. The planned attack on the outpost is called off. Hundreds of ARVN soldiers who would have died are alive because 6 SEALs made an enemy battalion too afraid to function. 3 days later, Trudeau and Holloway sit on the pier at Nyan Bay, watching boats move through the Mekong. The sun is setting, turning the water gold. "You did good on that last op," Holloway says. "I participated in something I swore I wouldn't." "Yeah, you did. How's that sit with you?" Trudeau considers the question. "Honestly, I still don't like it. But I understand it now. Those ARVN soldiers at the outpost, they're alive because we made the enemy too afraid to attack. That Marine platoon that stopped taking casualties, those guys are alive because of what we do. The moral cost is real, but so's the tactical benefit." Holloway nods. "That's the weight we carry. We do dark things so others don't have to. We cross lines so other units can maintain theirs. It's not clean, it's not heroic, but it's necessary." How do you live with it, long term? By remembering that every choice has a cost. If we don't use psychological warfare, more Americans die in conventional combat. If we do use it, we carry the moral weight of treating the dead as props. I choose the option that saves more of our people, but I don't pretend it's cost-free. They sit in silence. A boat passes, Navy personnel waving. The war continues around them. "You know what the VC called this area now?" Holloway asks. "What?" "Vung Ma, the ghost zone. They tell their fighters that if they're ordered here, they should desert. We've created an area where the enemy refuses to operate through reputation alone." He lights a cigarette. "That's not just tactical success, that's strategic impact. 6-man teams controlling territory through psychology that would take battalions to control through force." "And all it costs is our souls," Trudeau says, half joking. "No, it costs our comfort. There's a difference." Holloway exhales smoke. "Your soul is intact because you're still questioning, still uncomfortable. The day you start enjoying the psychological operations is the day you've lost something essential. But doing something difficult and necessary while hating it, that's not losing your soul. That's being human." A week later, Trudeau is in the hooch when a package arrives. It's from the Marine lieutenant who'd visited to thank them. Inside is a photograph. The Marines platoon, all smiling, clearly taken stateside after their rotation ended. A note reads, "Made it home. Every one of us. Because of you. Semper Fi." Trudeau pins the photo to his footlocker, a reminder of why the dark work matters. That night's mission brief includes more psychological operations. Holloway outlines the plan, another series of raids designed to create fear and disruption. When he asks for volunteers to handle the staging, Trudeau raises his hand. Not because he's comfortable with it, not because the moral weight has disappeared, but because he understands now that warfare isn't about comfort. It's about effectiveness. And sometimes the most effective weapon isn't a bullet. It's fear. The operations continue through the summer and into fall. The ghost zone expands. More areas where VC units refuse to operate. More villages that report reduced enemy activity. More American and ARVN units that operate with reduced casualties. The psychological warfare campaign becomes case study material. Other SEAL teams adopt similar tactics. The VC response evolves. They try to counter the psychological operations, try to rally their fighters against the fear. But fear, once planted, is hard to uproot. Trudeau becomes one of the team's most effective operators in psychological warfare. Not because he's comfortable with it, but because he brings a thoughtfulness to it. He understands the moral weight, which makes him more careful, more precise. He never stages a scene without thinking about the cost, never leaves a calling card without acknowledging what it represents. And he keeps the photographs, every thank you letter from units operating in areas they've psychologically controlled, every intelligence report showing reduced enemy activity, every life saved through fear instead of firepower. Because the weight needs to be balanced. The darkness needs to be justified. One night after a particularly successful operation, Martinez asks him, "Are you good with this now, the psychological stuff?" "No," Trudeau answers honestly. "I'll never be good with it, but I accept it. I understand why it's necessary, and I'll carry the weight because the alternative costs more lives." That's all any of us can do. Holloway, overhearing, adds quietly, "The best warriors are the ones who hate war but fight it anyway." You're becoming a good SEAL, Trudeau. Not because you've gotten comfortable with the dark work, but because you do it despite your discomfort. It's the highest praise Trudeau has received. Months later, back stateside, Trudeau will be asked about his time in Vietnam, about the operations, about the tactics. He'll talk about the conventional missions, the raids and ambushes and firefights. But he won't talk about the psychological warfare, won't mention the staged scenes or the calling cards or the ghost zone. Some things are too heavy to share, too morally complex to explain to people who weren't there. But he'll think about them, about the Marines who came home because enemy fighters were too afraid to patrol, about the villages that reported safety because the VC avoided areas controlled by ghosts, and about the tactical success purchased with moral discomfort. And he'll understand, finally, what Holloway meant. Warfare isn't clean. It isn't heroic. It isn't morally simple. It's doing necessary things while carrying the weight of what they cost. The Navy SEALs in Vietnam controlled territory not through overwhelming force, but through overwhelming fear. They became myths, ghosts, demons in the minds of their enemies, and that psychological control saved lives. But it also cost something. Cost the men who did it a piece of their moral certainty, cost them comfort with their own actions. That cost was real. Trudeau carries it still. But when he looks at the photograph of the Marine platoon that made it home, all of them, every single one, he knows the cost was worth paying. Because in war, you don't get to choose between perfect options. You choose between imperfect ones. And psychological warfare, with all its moral weight and darkness, was the choice that saved the most lives. That's not justification, it's acknowledgement. The ghost zone was real. The fear was real. The lives saved were real. And so was the cost to the men who created it. Trudeau keeps one calling card, an ace of spades, never used. It sits in a box with his medals and commendations.
A reminder of what he became in the Delta. Not a demon, not a ghost, just a man who learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon is the one you plant in an enemy's mind, and that using it costs something that bullets never do: your comfort
with yourself. But war has never cared about comfort, only about winning. And in the Mekong Delta, the Navy SEALs won through fear as much as firepower. They created zones the enemy wouldn't enter, not because they couldn't, because they were too afraid. And that fear, terrible and effective, was the difference between life and death for American forces operating in those areas. The moral weight remains, but so do the lives saved. And in the calculus of war, that balance, however uncomfortable, speaks for itself.